Now, first I want to just add some water. And this water is pretty dirty, but that's alright. Just want to add a layer of water wash. You don't need to be too particular. I want to make sure that the edges are within the line, because that's where the paint is going to go, but otherwise on the center I'm not concerned. Let's start with a tad of ultramarine blue here. And then here where it's a little dry, the paper dried out, I'm just adding a little water. Now whenever you're doing watercolor, you can always just float a little bit of water on top in order to kind of lift it up again and get it to go back into its beautiful watercolor fashion. The way it typically moves. So. But by now it's dry. I haven't even really taken my brush off the paper, but it's already dry now. I'm going to go with layer 3. I'm going to start at the same spot, just for the fun of it, and just work around. Now what I'm doing here is I'm kind of tapping it in all directions, kind of making smudge marks, and I'm doing it quick enough that I'm almost bouncing on the surface of the paper. So they're not going to be marks that are the same going all the way around, but they're going to have some variety. Like I said, it's a lot of quickly jumping in. I want to leave gaps because I want the color from below. I want that transparency and the layered look. And I don't want too many hard edges. So if you do have one, you can just rub a little bit and soften that out and move it along. Get it to flow. I'm going to add some more water. The more I add water on top, it's all going to flow across and become a beautiful soft watercolor. Nice of glass. Okay, and I'm just going to go ahead and continue that. So we'll do the second layer. I want 3 layers now. I'll do 4, 5, 6, probably up to maybe 10 layers. And now at this point I'm going to let it dry because I put on 3 layers and it's gotten pretty wet. And I'm going to go ahead and start with the next one. And again, I'm just going to put down some water. Next one. And again, I'm just going to put down some water. Now I'm staying true to having a more realistic or 3D form. I want the outside to be darker because the whole top is where the light is hitting it. This is a bunch of blueberries and they're all dark, and underneath will be more darkness or dark berries. Whereas the top, there should be a little bit of light somewhere. Not too much because blueberries are pretty dark. But for example, on this one, you've got this dark line surrounding it, and then you've got a little lighter patch here. And just soften it out by adding some water on top. And in the center, that little bud, it's going to be a different tone. And it's a little dark in there. Now this is a berry without a water wash underneath. Let's see how this looks. This is a dry on dry technique. And I'm going to just lift off a tiny bit right from the middle. There'll be a little dot in there. think we shall leave it there for a while and have to let these dry, and then I'll move some of the masking fluid in, and then I will do more details and a lot more layers because they need to be much drier. You can see in this one how there's all these different tones of color, and this one too with a little bit of light in the background. This one's pretty flat, so I'm going to add some more dimension to it, some more form. This one's pretty good. It's got some shadows. This shadow needs to smooth out a little bit more on this side, but otherwise it's good. And this one's really cute back. Okay, so that's all for now. And I'll be back later. So something I really like to do, pretty much no matter what I'm doing, is I like to make references. So I like to make a before and after. For example, here I've kind of sketched out how the drawing is going to go. I want the leaves moving like this and doing that, and And then here I've gone ahead and painted it. But this is my rough. This is my just getting it out, laying it down. You know, you have to have a certain amount of rough in order to do a final. This is also not a final one. This is just a little flippy floppy sketchbook that I've got, and the paper is 90-gram dreadful paper. But it's enough for me to say, okay, I can sketch it, then I can paint it. Now I can decide here, and here obviously adding in some of the shadows and details if I want to, but I can decide here, maybe, you know, here the leaf bent over. But here I didn't bend it over, so maybe I want to come back and make that leaf bend over. Or when I then take this and put it into a piece, perhaps this is a very small piece of a really large painting and it's just down in the corner or next to a tree. I've got a few lines, but I really wanted the grass to be perfect, or I wanted them to be interesting. And this book is also from a few years ago now. But that's what this is. This is like my map, my roadmap, or my recipe. It gives me a way to check it and come back to it. And I really believe that the more you do this, the better your work is going to be. Because every time you redo the same thing, you're able to improve on what you're doing. So another great example of that would be this one. I finished these strawberries yesterday, and I've been working on them for a few days now. And they're a little weird. This strawberry looks like a traditional strawberry, but this strawberry actually looked like that. But now that it's finished, it looks more like a different kind of fruit. There's like that star fruit that's got the bumps up. Is it a pomegranate? I can't remember. And the leaves are all, like, that's what the leaves look like. That's what the fruit look like. But I'm not thrilled. So I think that I can definitely do a better job. And this is also the first time I've ever done a realistic strawberry. I think it's the first time I've ever done a strawberry at all. So I will take this and then sketch out and get strawberries. This was done from a live strawberry that was sitting on my desk. And these are all the little yellowy brown leaves that are underneath, and then the green, you know. So I'll resketch this with new strawberries that maybe are slightly traditional and maybe more. Perhaps I could put in, you know, some different variations because it's just a study and I want to see strawberries from all the different sides. And then see and paint it again. And after I do these strawberries maybe 10 times, I'll be able to look back and say, all right, this is the first time I did the strawberries. That was interesting. And this is what I've got now, you know, 20 hours later, after doing 20 hours more work and study on the strawberries, where I now understand the shape, understand the form, understand the texture. I know exactly how it looks with my own style being put in there, because I'm not looking for an exact replica. I don't want it to look like a child book replica. I also don't want it to look so realistic like a photograph. It has to have my own style in there, and the more you paint, the more your own style is going to come out, and you're going to have your own, whatever it can be, because there's just a bazillion different ways. There are as many styles in art as there are people. So you need to find your own style, but also the more you practice, the more you'll be more comfortable in that, and the more you'll be able to grow. Okay, so that's something I'll be practicing. And I'll probably do the next set of strawberries in a tutorial because I do think that these are fun and definitely worth showing you guys how I do them. So we're at the blueberries. And for the blueberries, I have some dirty water, which I'm using on purpose so that you guys can see where I'm laying down the water. If I use clear water, so I'm just going to fast forward this whole process, and we'll stop when I get to the point of starting the background. now I want to use my masking fluid and go around the edges in order to save it from the background. So now I have a few options. On this one, there's no detail in the berries. They're just round balls with little white dots in the center. So I could do a wash side to side and just go all the way across. Second option is I can work around it. All right, and for this we might need a third sheet. Okay, I'm gonna quickly draw in some circles. Okay, so I'm going to come in with the brush, and I'm just using a little bit of wash, which means it's just this blue that's got a tiny, tiny bit of paint in it. And I want to come into the corners, starting my corners. It's great if you start in one spot. And I'm going to work my way out and around. Now I like this brush because it's got a beautiful point. I'm going to add a little more paint in there. You guys can see what I'm doing. So the water's on, now I'm going again. Applying the paint into where the water is, because that means it won't have a sharp edge around the outside, but it will have a sharp edge around the berry, if we don't want a sharp edge. If I don't want a sharp edge, I'll put the water on, and I would blend it out. So there we go. So that's the background. So now the little rocks, they kind of look like they're floating in the background. So that's option one. I could do that to this. So I could just work all the way around, and then I would remove the mask, and it would look something like that when we're done. And that's a pretty strong blue. I think this is, here's a center one. Then I used Paris blue for this blue. It's really like a sky blue. It's very pretty. I don't think it's going to work with the blueberries. I don't think that's the right blue. I think Alio blue might be a better option because it's a little, let's see over here, it's a little greener. And I think the green blue might go a little better with the blueberries. So let's try that. Now the second option is to do a wash wall to wall. And not care about the berries because they don't have the final foundation on them. I've already blocked off the edges, so I could just wash the whole thing. So I'm going to go ahead and see if that, on this one, I'm going to do that as a second technique. If I have a berry here, okay? So if I had these berries, sorry, I had my brush in my mouth. If I put these berries down, and even though, you know, they've just got washed, I'm going to go like this over top. On the whole thing. Use the color we actually want to use, lighter green color. So that's a wash, but when you put it on top of something, it's called glazing. This is the blue I think is going to work, but that is not enough. That's going to be gone really, really, really quickly. So I need to make more, and this is how I do that. I'm going to take a tiny little lid, and I'm going to mix my color again. A little bit of blue, a little bit of light blue, there's a green. Whoa, kind of like that color's better too. Okay. More blue. What was that green? Okay, now, a little darker. All right, now I've mixed it up. It's the right color, I know, because I keep checking on this paper. It's in a little lid, which is perfect. I love the lids. They're just so awesome. All right, now, I don't want to do this. I could, but I don't want to. I don't really have enough paint, so I'm going to do this. The only problem with this is that you might end up with edges, and I did not end up with edges, so I don't think I will. And if we do, I'll show you guys how to lift them. So I'm going to start at a corner, and I want to work all the way around and then through the center. And it doesn't matter which corner I work at, but I want to have only one bead of water that I'm pulling across the paper. If you end up with two beads, you could forget about one, and then that one will go hard on you. This is nice. Okay, so I'm going to start by going into the edges. And even though the mask is there, I'm still paying attention to where the berries are, and I'm not painting on top of them. Bring my bead of water down. This is what it looks like now, and this is looking pretty nice. Now, actually I want to go way darker, but that's a nice background. That's a nice foundation layer. For these guys, I don't think that'll work. I think it's going to have to be dark. So what that means is this is drying. You can tell if your paper is dry if it is cool on the back of your hand. Yeah, and I'm going to come again with some wet and just do exactly what I just showed you. I'm just going to put the water around. I kind of want it to bleed out. Let's apply the water really quick before that dries. Whatever fashion. And I'm going to come back with a color, and I'm going to drop it in. With a little more color. Ooh, picked up some yellow in that too. Alright, now let's move it around so it comes down into all these edges. Now this is where the mask becomes really nice, because now I know it will not drip onto my berries. One, circle. Add some more dark. Get some water. Let's continue that wild look. And then I like the hard edges there. I think I'll continue a few of them. Actually, you know what? If I continue the edges as circles, it would look like berries. Kind of like the shadow of a berry far away. Intense blue here, maybe here, maybe here. Just to kind of, I'm looking at the corners, just keep doing the corners. Because that's supposed to be shadows, right? Get some circly shapes going on there. This is going to be another long video, isn't it? by lifting off some of the water. I'm able to put the color on top. And yellow is one of these funny things. It doesn't like to mix with colors. It will push colors away. Not always. Depends on the brand of paint you're using. But if you're using high quality professional paints, yellow will go this and push other colors out. Which, if you know that, can be kind of fun. So that's good. And I think I'm going to put, you guys see that? So I've got a little yellow here, here, and here. And I think I'm going to put a little bit of yellow over here. Just a tiny bit. So it's almost like a little bit of sun highlight coming in the background. But I don't want a sharp edge. I've already got lots of sharp edges in that area. So I'm just going to smooth it all the way in. So using my brush and using clean water. And darker. You want something to stand out from the background. Make sure that your lights and darks are as dark and as light as you can go. And you can even see this. I mean, I'm really close to it and I'm not being objective when I look at this, but if I look at the camera and I see what you guys are seeing, I can see the more dark I put under there, the more those berries look like they're being lifted up. Unfortunately, when we come and do these berries, they're going to be really dark, so that won't work. But this will be a pretty cool painting all by itself. So if we come in here again, yeah, you guys see that? And we add more dark. Okay, we have a blueberry. So we're gonna grab a scrubber brush. Come in here before it dries. This is not the end of the world because these berries are going to turn blue too, but just to lift it out a little bit. And that happens really, really fast. The paper just sucked it right. Now I want this dry just a little bit, and then I'm going to put in more circles. So more shadows of, essentially it's a negative painting. And that is negative painting. Now, some water to blend out this part. Let me go somewhere else. And I'm using pretty thick paint here. Yeah, let's do that. Okay, I'm going to leave it there. So, this is our background, this is our painting. And this is a pretty intense background, it's pretty wild. That background may not work on this. This might need just a really light wash. But then again, this might be really interesting. So when we're done, we'll take this off. I'm going to do some more negative paintings around here when I get back after this is dry. Then we'll remove the mask, and then I'll do these blueberry details onto these berries. And that'll be painting one. Then we'll come over here and we will work on this and see what we want to do with that. And we'll end up with two completely different paintings, but there'll be a good example of learning as you go, practicing different techniques, trying out new things. We obviously started with something simple like a blueberry, but going ahead doing this as a rough to figure out what we want to do is a fantastic way of perfecting bits and pieces of your work before you go back to what you're actually working on, your final piece where you want that to be perfect.